All right, welcome to a boxing moment with myself and Darnell. We are excited about our show today. Before I toss it to my man Darnell to take us down with our special guest that we have here, I want to always remind you all to go to realsportsguys.com for everything RSG. You'll be able to watch this podcast over and over again, as well as some of the other podcasts we got going on with One Mic. Inside the Park and the Big Show. We've really made realsportsguys.com our place where we're trying to make everything happen, where we have blogs going and everything else. But I want to bring our special guest in before I have Darnell take the wheel. This is a guy who's been with us. As you know, we've been pushing this boxing thing. We talk about everything sports, but boxing has kind of been a constant topic for us here on RSG. And one of the guys who really helped us kick it off is our man, Teron Briggs, who was with boxing.com. He's doing a lot of freelance boxing, but I want to welcome him to our show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. How's everything going with you? It's good to see a familiar face, man.
Man, it's been good because it's like, you know, we've been going back and forth on Twitter. We do all our things, and we definitely want to make sure people follow you on Twitter. But I got to say, like, are you a Giants or a Jets fan?
I'm a Jets fan, man. Jets. Jets.
Yeah, so you didn't have to put up with that the craziness with the Giants in the pick. I did have the Jets on. We did a draft show. They were on my teams that you have faith in, who are picking the top 10, or no faith in. And the Jets, because of how they've operated recently, I have them in the no faith list. But they actually had a solid draft. So how you feel about your Jets?
I'm cautiously optimistic is the way to put it. As a longtime Jets fan, you come to realize that that's the way you have to look at it, because it's been so much. They've been bad for so long that every now and then they'll have a little stretch for a couple of years where they're pretty good, and obviously they're not good enough to win the Super Bowl in my lifetime. But so because of that, I'm cautiously optimistic.
You and Mike Greenberg. I feel for y'all.
Exactly. They have some good young talent. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this season. I can't wait.
They just got to have Le'Veon. I'm a Steelers fan. They just got to have Le'Veon show up for practice after being out for about 9,000 years.
Exactly. Yeah. That was disappointing when I heard that he wasn't going to do the voluntary practice. But I'm not gonna judge that against him. He's always been in great shape. It seems, in the seasons where he's played. So I'm just gonna hope that he's doing some off the field conditioning and stuff like that, and we'll see come training camp.
A lot of guys don't show up for the little voluntary workouts, though.
I understand.
Like, voluntary, they collectively bargain for that.
I understand that, but a lot of them guys have a whole season off in trying to integrate with your teammates either. So
exactly,
he's an outlier in that kind of fact, because how many guys have we seen take a year off other than him and Carson Palmer?
Yeah, but this is about building chemistry. It's not you got a new team and you trying to set a different standard. And this is New York City. This is not podunk you. This is New York City, where you got the media and everybody else with you. So the one thing we do know, if you follow this man right here, he can talk about all things sports. I will say that. And Darnell, my man, has got into. We're gonna give it back over to the youngin to kind of drive us through the interview here with Teron, because we got some big fights coming on. So I'm gonna hand it on over to you, youngin.
All right, man. So why we're here this Saturday, which is tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, tomorrow.
We have Canelo versus Danny Jacobs. How do you think that fight shapes up?
Oh man, it is definitely here in the States the biggest fight of the year to date, and we'll see how the rest of the year goes, but it could end up being the biggest fight of the year in general. But I'm excited. I mean, I'm a Brooklyn guy, born and raised in Brooklyn. So Danny Jacobs is born and raised in Brooklyn as well. I have a history of having a huge affinity for Brooklyn fighters. So and I followed Danny's career. I got the opportunity to go to the Jacobs Triple G fight a couple of years ago and see him live and see him put on one of the better performances in his career. So he's probably arguably fighting the best fighter that he's ever fought and Canelo, but he's been on a big stage before, so I have confidence that that under the bright lights he won't he won't go in near and be easily scared by the stage that the huge stage he's going to be on.
Right. So you said that you went to the Canelo versus Triple G fight. Who did you think won? I'm not Canelo. The Danny Jacobs versus Triple G fight. Who do you think won that fight? I know that was a very controversial decision by a lot of people. But
exactly, the crazy thing is that I actually have yet to see that fight on TV. I only saw it live, but scoring from my seat, I thought Triple G eked out a close decision. I forgot how I had it scored. I think something like 115. Either 112 or 113. I think it was 112 because of the knockdown.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was a close fight. Danny looked good in the later rounds. He got off to a rough start and closed out looking pretty good. But yeah, that was a great atmosphere and at MSG when they fought, and I'm sure that the atmosphere is probably going to be even better this weekend in T-Mobile in Vegas, where Canelo has fought numerous times, and he's a huge star across the states, and Vegas is sort of his home away from home in terms of having a huge fan base there. So I'm sure he'll have the majority of the crowd will be there in his favor. But Danny should have a few fans, and it should be an electric atmosphere.
Okay, in my opinion, I scored a draw. I had
okay.
Pretty much. I had him winning rounds wise, but with the knockdown, it would end up being a draw in my card.
Okay, yeah, a lot of people had it scored as a draw. I mean, I even saw a couple. I think like Yahoo.com and a few other sites even had Danny winning a close decision. So it could have gone either way, I think.
So, say if you were Andre Rozier, what would your game plan be for this fight?
It would be for Danny to use his range. I mean, he's listed at about 5'11" and a half, right around 6 feet. He's got a long reach for middleweight. I think it's like something like 73 inches. He's got the reach almost like a 3-inch reach advantage over Canelo. So he's got to use that. He's got to use that reach. He's got to box at a distance. He's a very good boxer. He's got a good amateur pedigree. Good fighting in the Golden Gloves here in New York. So the key to him, key for him winning, I think, is going to be to keep the fight at a distance. He's got excellent footwork. He's a young guy. Pretty young guy. Hasn't been in a lot of rough fights. So he's got to move around the ring. Canelo seems to have issues when he's got to sort of if he can't set his feet. Like a guy like Triple G almost played. I mean, you saw both fights. But and Triple G, and he's a come forward kind of guy. He's not a boxer really as much. He's got good boxing ability. He's got a great amateur pedigree as well. But he's more of a come forward kind of guy. Danny is a guy who can come forward. He's got power. He's got quite a few knockouts in his career. But he's also got a good boxing ability. So.
All right. So conversely, if you were Eddie Reynoso, what would be your game plan to defeat Danny Jacobs?
Would be to get in close. I mean, he's got one of the best body punching repertoires in the sport. Did you see the Canelo Fielding fight, which was his last one?
If we call it a fight, I saw that.
the slaughter. Well, yeah, I mean, it was good for one reason. It kicked off Canelo's first fight with the DAZN, the network that gave him was it 360 or 65 million?
$365 million or whatever.
Yeah, 65. Okay, yeah. Let me not cheat him out of that five. But so it kicked off that fight, and it gave him an opportunity to fight in New York for the first time at MSG. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to go see that. But in that fight where he moved up to 168 pounds, and for the guy who was naturally bigger than him, you saw him attack the body, and I think that's what you're going to see him do with Jacobs is try to get in close. He has a pretty Canelo's got pretty good footwork as well. I mean, he doesn't display it quite a bit, and he's not noted for having that, but he's got good. He's got not as good as Danny's, but it's good enough to allow him to get in and pound that body and get Danny to drop those arms down and probably to target him to the head later on in the fight after trying to wear him down. That's what I would expect that Reynoso's going to try to get him to do.
Okay, so I want to bring Devon in here real quick.
Okay.
Who do you have winning this fight?
Well, this is going to be a tough one because I think I'm such a fan of Danny Jacobs and his story, and he is probably close in terms of just the way he uses the ring and thinks to the ring that Canelo's going to face next to, I would say, Floyd, because Danny can adjust in fights in ways that you don't expect him to do. So this one is a tough one for me. I might be going upset.
Oh, upset special.
I think, and I'm a big Canelo fan because I think Canelo grew a lot post Floyd. Now I'm not gonna go against Canelo until I'm proven different. I'm gonna go Canelo by decision. It's gonna be controversial. I think it's gonna be enough to probably push another rematch. I think it's gonna be Canelo by decision because I don't think Danny got too much heart to go down and out. Danny not going. He might go down. He got too much fight in him. I think Canelo wins. I think it's another close one. It could be controversial, kind of like the Triple G fight, but I think Canelo just has more significant punches that wins out rounds over time. I think Canelo learned a lot from. I'm gonna go Canelo. I switched on this. This is how much I'm confused about it. I've never been confused about a fight as this one.
So, Teron, who do you have?
Oh man, I've been over the last few weeks leading up to the fight. If you would have asked me, each week, I would have probably given you a different outcome. I'm guessing right now. I'm thinking Canelo. I've switched over. I initially started thinking Jacobs was gonna get it, but I think Canelo is 11th, 12th round. I can see him scoring a stoppage. So I'm going to say 11th round TKO for Canelo. Though I'm going to be pulling for Jacobs. That's one of the good things about being a fan, not a is that taking this hiatus from writing, is that I can be biased. What are your thoughts? Who do you have?
Okay, so in my opinion, I believe Danny Jacobs has every physical advantage that you could have in a fight, in this fight. But in my opinion, Canelo Alvarez is the better boxer. He's the better combination puncher. He's the better counter puncher. He has the better head movement. He does not have the faster feet. But other than the physical advantage, I think the actual boxing skills go to Canelo. So I believe Canelo should win. But on top of that, even if Danny Jacobs wins by a narrow margin, I believe that he has to win decisively to beat Canelo on the scorecards, because we know the judges love Canelo Alvarez. In my opinion, I think Danny Jacobs might be down 2 rounds already, and the fight is tomorrow.
Yep.
So I think Danny Jacobs has to go above and beyond to win this fight, and in my opinion, that can backfire against him, because if he's trying to be too aggressive, he's going to run into a lot of counter shots. Canelo's going to go to the body. He's going to mix it up. Canelo also has some of the best feints in the game. So I'm picking Canelo. I would not be surprised if Danny Jacobs comes out with a victory, but I'm picking Canelo.
Here we go. Woo! It tells you how good this fight's going to be.
Yeah. So next week we have another good fight in the division lower, at 154. We have Jarrett Hurd versus Julian J-Rock Williams. So Devon. Yeah, what do you think about Jarrett Hurd and J-Rock?
I think it's gonna be a good fight. I'm a big Hurd fan, and so I will. I'm leaning towards Hurd because I like how he's busy in the way in which he's active. But I think it's gonna be a great fight. I think it's another great fight, another great match. But I'm a Hurd fan, and I'm looking for the potential fights that he could have. Following this about in terms of what's going to be next. But I think he's going to be able to kind of squeak it out, or he might again. I mean, he's vicious going to the body. He's there. It's going to be a test, but I think I go with Hurd.
Okay, so I think I'll probably go with Hurd as well, but it's something you have to look out for because Julian J. Rock Williams is a very good boxer. He has very good skills. He might not have the punching power to affect Jarrett Hurd, and I think that'll eventually be his downfall. But we have seen Jarrett Hurd being outboxed in the past. In the beginning of the Arislandi Laura fight, he was being outboxed. In the beginning of the Tony Harrison fight, he was being outboxed.
Yeah.
Beginning of the Austin Trout fight, he was being outboxed. So we have seen Jarrett Hurd being outboxed in fights before. So I think that could be something that could happen in this fight as well. But I think eventually we're going to see Jarrett Hurd catch up and stop him.
Yeah, I think, the thing you got to be able to do is keep Hurd off of you. And in all those fights, he puts that psychological pressure because he keeps coming back. And it's whether or not you can withstand his press, the way he going to press you.
You stand the rain. Can you stand it? No. Yeah, I agree a lot. But also we have the rematch it was just announced yesterday. The rematch between Jermell Charlo and Tony Harrison, the hometown guy. And this is a fight I want to bring up because this also ties in with the Jarrett Hurd fight because Jarrett Hurd, he has said that if Jermell Charlo wins, he'll stay at 154 and have the unification fight. But if he loses, he'll probably just move up to 160. Mm-hmm. So this is a fight we have to look out for. What do you think is going to happen in the rematch, and who do you think won the first fight?
Well, I had that fight. I think because that fight went across the board. I forgot what, and I was trying to look back at my app to see what I had it at, but I believe I had it at because I was saying throughout the fight, this fight closer than everybody thinks. I remember I was tweeting that to everyone because people were because sometimes you listen to the commentators, I'm like, Tony's active, and so I think I might have had it either 115, 113. Charlo maybe, but I was understanding that why it would have been some people might have had a draw or they might have had it for Harris. I want to say that's what I had it. I think on this one, Charlo is not going to leave anything for chance. And he had some moments there where he was really putting it on him. And I think that, Tony's still going to be in there, but I think Charlo might get a late stoppage. I think he might get something around the 9th, 10th round because I just think he's highly motivated. And he's going to jump on him. And I think there were points when he had him, at least feeling his power and everything else. I think that Charlo going to get this rematch.
So, as you know, I'm biased on this one too, but it's tough because I'm biased both ways. I always root for the Michigan guys, but at the same time, Jermell is my favorite fighter. Yeah. So, I thought Jermell won the first one in a very close fight. Yeah. Like you said, a lot closer than what the card was showing. Not the card, but the TV announcer, their cards, what they were saying. Like I was hearing Boo Boo Mancini was like, he cannot win this fight by boxing. I was like, the sport's called boxing. I don't know.
Mancini, like once he gets on the bandwagon on someone, all the other evidence doesn't matter what he's seeing. And then they had what's my guy, the former Hazard was like, he was the one. I thought he was watching a different fight. So you're right.
So I had him narrowly winning the fight, but we never really saw many fireworks in that fight because Tony Harrison was being very defensive. He's pacing his action and stuff. But I don't know if I can pick a winner because I can say that maybe Jermell Charlo will try to do more because he has to do more to get the decision. But at the same time, I don't know if that is going to be good for him because I know that Tony Harrison is a sharp counterpuncher. He's a student of the game. And I think that could possibly play into his hands and he can frustrate Jermell Charlo more and end up having more of a wide decision. So I don't know who I'm going to go with, so I'm just going to leave this undecided.
Well, you can't do that. How you going to make me make a decision and then you going to – that's not even fair.
You can always plead the fifth. So
I had to jump in there. You got to draw a line now. That's what we do here.
All right, the week after next, we have Deontay Wilder and Dominic Breazeale. There's bad blood, to say the least, in this fight. Because, a couple years ago, after one of the Wilder fights, Breazeale was in attendance. And at the hotel, there was a situation where him and Marcellus Wilder, the little brother of Deontay Wilder, got into it. And Marcellus Wilder supposedly beat up Dominic Breazeale. And Dominic Breazeale has been mad ever since. So they're fighting in a couple weeks on my birthday. It should be fun while it lasts. In my opinion, I think Deontay Wilder is going to absolutely destroy Dominic Breazeale. What do you think?
Yeah, if his little brother, if all is true and his little brother did him in, he already softened him up. He already know what he can't do. He can't get the stop report on him. Deontay gonna put him through the ropes. It's one of those fights where you can hear a guy's talking, but he not talking with bass, versus Deontay talking with bass. Like when Deontay says something, you believe it, and Deontay says in a way that he's not afraid to lose. He's not afraid to put it all on the line. And he just has that I can't go back attitude. And if you're going to try and stand toe-to-toe, you got to be like a Tyson Fury, willing to slip, slide, and frustrate and counterpunch. That's not Breazeale. Breazeale going to try and toe-to-toe. And in that, when you try to mass up the arsenal, he's coming with AK-47 and Wilder's coming with straight missiles. Boop. And he going to sleep. He going to be somebody should just bring a pillow in so he can fall softly. But this is gonna be if he stays up, it's because Wilder wants to keep him up and keep punishing him.
Right. And I know we're gonna ask Teron about his pound for pound list, but I think, in my opinion, it could be time soon to start adding Deontay Wilder to that pound for pound list. Because I know we don't. I don't rank heavyweights because I believe that there is no pound for pound. They're the best, period. I mean, but and when you think of the spirit of pound for pound, Deontay Wilder is a guy that he comes into the ring about 215, 210, and is constantly fighting guys that weigh much more than him. Like Tyson Fury outweighed him by about 50 pounds. Same thing with Luis Ortiz. Dominic Breazeale outweigh him about the same. So he's knocking everybody out. Like he has I think 40 wins and 39 knockouts. So I think it might be time to start putting him on that list now that I'm thinking about it. But what do you think about the state of the heavyweight division today?
I'm excited about it. I mean, you just named off a number of fighters, and we're not even getting into some of the young guys who are coming up in boxing. It's a loaded division with a lot of more people coming through it. And the other thing about it is, I think what's great about it is you have fighters who aren't afraid to sell it, and you can believe them. So not only that, I think that it's a loaded division, but you got cats who are not afraid to sell the division, sell the fight. These are people who can, you have a number of fights that can be pay-per-view ready fights if they get made. And so, we're not talking about, I mean, you think about this, man. You got Anthony Joshua, you got Deontay Wilder. You talked about Tyson Fury. We're not talking about some of the Devin. We're not talking about some of the other guys who are in the heavyweight ranks, who are there. And so I'm excited about the fight, and I'm excited. The only thing we got to get around is are the matchmakers going to help make the fights? That's where we're at right now. But we got some legitimate pay-per-view level fights ready to go right now, and that to me is something that I really love seeing about fighting. That it feels like the fight game is back, because we do now have a list of cats who can fill arenas, who can sell pay-per-view fights, and they're going to be competitive. So we got about 10 good fighters that you can even talk about. Even when we're talking about those top 3 or 4, we got another 8 or 9 who can come in and get you at any time. And so I'm excited about that. That, along with what's happening in all the other divisions, is a great time to love boxing.
It is. Just now is the time for people to actually fight each other. Because one thing you wrote down and talked about earlier was not in the podcast, but you wrote down earlier was what makes the Canelo Danny Jacobs fight a possible fight of the year? And my answer to that is because nobody else is fighting each other. Because right. Canelo Alvarez versus Danny Jacobs would not be the fight of the year if we had Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence this year. If we had Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder this year. If we had – okay, I'm going to stop there. If we had Lomachenko versus Gervonta Davis, so on and so forth, and all the fights that could happen, I don't think it would necessarily be the number one fight this year. But the thing is, the fights aren't necessarily happening. But when they do, like boxing at this point, in my opinion, it has a lot of potential, but potential is just potential until it's realized. Now you need that kinetic energy to start rolling down the hill. But do you have anything else that you want to say? Anything else? Any other topics?
Yeah, our man Teron got disconnected, trying to get back on. Hopefully we can get him. We definitely going to have him back on the fight. We want to make sure that folks know to reach out and follow him because he is a true friend of the program, and we want to make sure that we are able to support him in his endeavors. And so, if you get a chance, you can follow him at Teron, TERON formerly with boxing.com. He's with UCNlive.com, eastsideboxing.com, freelance writer. He's a great Twitter follower, followed during the fight. But I just want to say that, we've been committed to this boxing game. It's been great to have Darnell, who's added so much to our ability and knowledge about boxing here at RSG. So he's been bringing a lot to the table. There's a lot of big fights up here. We're going to try and bring people on who can share their perspective. We're also looking to get Dougie Fisher, who's editor of Ring Magazine, on here as well. So, this boxing game is going to be here. You will probably at some point see myself, Darnell, and probably Teron and Dougie or someone at a boxing fight near you. That's our next step that we're going to bring into the table. But, man, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to these next few months, man. It's going to be some great boxing going on. Even though we're not probably getting some of the marquee fights, even if those fights were in, I think because of who Danny Jacobs is and the heart he brings to the table, and Brooklyn's in the building, that this is a guy that you're going to put some respect on his name. And this might be the fight for people to realize. That's why it was so hard for us to predict that even if all those fights were happening, that's what makes boxing so great, is you got a guy like this who not necessarily people think is marquee, but a lot of these marquee guys ain't looking to get in the ring with him. They thinking twice. They ain't rushing to try to fight this guy. But that's the thing about Canelo. One thing I say about Canelo does no one. I mean, he tries to get his fights in, and I'm as much as he can. He's fighting these fights, and he's got a big challenger on him on. He's taking a big chance with the challenger he's got going on Saturday night. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, my only trepidation with this fight is what's going to happen when Danny Jacobs gets hit. Because we've seen a lot of times he has what I like to call a little bit of that Adrian Broner syndrome. Like he gets hit, and then like if he gets hit with a good shot, he might be on the bicycle. And he's not gonna give up. He never gives up, but he's not gonna necessarily attack for the rest of the fight. Like if he gets hurt, he's gonna be on his bicycle.
But the difference between him and Adrian is that he's gonna be a bicycle, but he's gonna be active. He's going to be getting punches, and he's going to be countering, and he's going to be still throwing in between punches, which is different than Adrian. I would say that Danny will, if he gets on his bike, he just switches styles up. His jab is going to be active. He's going to be collecting points. He's going to be making things happen versus going into a shell that sometimes Adrian does, where he's just rolling and missing and thinking you'll never see that with him. What he'll do is he's going to stay active. He might not be engaging too much. He might go 3 or 4 rounds where he's boxing and he's getting points, and then he might sit down on his punches once his head clears, which is a little bit different than I think Adrian will come out there. But he's always going to be doing things that he's attempting to win, and I think that's what you saw with Triple G is that he got active and his points got up and he hit some meaningful points. He started outboxing them versus just sitting down and standing right in front of him.
All right. So while we're waiting, who are your top 5 fighters?
Man, the way this list is changing around for pound, I've been trying to think through that list. I mean, obviously, Errol Spence Jr. Is on that list. I would put Crawford on that list, Lomachenko on that list, Canelo on that list. And then I think you got some good arguments at this point. I mean, there's a lot of good fighters that you could probably put in there. I wouldn't necessarily say Wilder's on there because, they still got to settle whatever happens between him and Fury. He didn't. If Fury wouldn't have gotten up, Wilder is on that list. But then when Fury did the did the Undertaker move and got up and somehow the lower reached down and picked him up, that delayed his move to pound for pound in that fight. So I would have them. And then,
was that 5?
I think I have 5. Do I have 5 of them?
You had 4. You had Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Canelo, Vasily Lomachenko, and you left 1.
So I might have it. So, I mean, I think those are the ones that I would say those are it with another group of folks who are like just one rung below, depending on how some of these fights go coming up. But those are the ones I would have on my Mount Rushmore. Who would you have on?
If we're talking Mount Rushmore, 0. Ain't nobody fighting today is on the Mount Rushmore of boxing. But if we're talking about top 5,
the top 5 people,
top
like
5.
This you got a list.
If we're talking about top 5, I go Crawford, Lomachenko, Canelo. No, we had Canelo, Errol Spence, and
you can go with Deontay. You said you put him on there.
Jarrett Hurd.
Oh, you got Jarrett Hurd. Okay, I thought he was in that Charlo mix, and that had to be resolved. But you said Jarrett.
Charlo got himself out of that because he with the fight with Tony Harrison. But as far as if we're talking about who is building the resume or who has the fights under his belt, like I'll have to put Jarrett Hurd in there because Jarrett Hurd has fought the competition. I put his competition over Deontay Wilder's. I'll put his competition over the Charlos because he beat Austin Trout. He beat Tony Harrison that beat Charlo, and he also beat Austin Trout. My bad. Austin Trout, Laura, and he beat Harrison. So I put him over there. But you got to look at Mike Garcia too. But Mikey Garcia, he got to get some buzz back.
Well, and the only reason I didn't put Mikey on there because, if he wouldn't have fought Arrow, he's easily on there. But I think because he took that chance, he's got to go. He got to go to the back. You know what I'm saying? Like he took that chance. He's got to go to the back. I was just trying to. You think Usyk? Like a lot of people have Usyk. Is that what's his name?
I know that's his name, but I don't know where he's at because I don't know where the cruiserweight division is. Because in my opinion,
there's a few other ones, but you can't really. You got Santa Cruz isn't where there's some other people who's got to fight some fights.
No, he's not. He ain't no top 5.
Well, but people. I'm saying what people say.
Who is people?
Say what the people say.
Speaking of people, Regis Progress of people. No, did you see his fight last week? Last week we had a couple fights. We had Regis Progress versus Relic, and then we had Robert Easter versus Ranches Bartholomew. And if you remember, like a year or so back, Relic beat Ranches Bartholomew, and they had a couple fights because the first one was a controversial decision. Mm-hmm. Most people thought Relic beat Bartholomew, but they ran it back, and Relic ended up beating him for real. But Relic moved up to 140, and he fought Prograis, and they fought not yesterday, but last Saturday on the World Boxing Super Series on the Zone. Did you see that fight?
So I saw the Easter Bartholomew.
Oh, okay. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, and so I had that one. Easter just disappointed me in that fight, meaning that he was not. That ended up being a draw, right? I had it 115. 113, I believe, Easter. But Easter didn't act like he wanted to go get it. Like, he looked so timid. His dad was on him. Bartholomew was doing some antics and kind of, trying to keep him off balance. But it was like you want Easter just to, like, say, look, I'm going to put my feet down here and lock in. I'm just going to dig on you. And that's what his father wanted to do. And he just seemed, like, tentative, man. I thought he was going to come back much more aggressive. I was disappointed with that performance, but I gave it 115, 113.
Yeah, they both lost that fight. No,
yeah.
In my opinion, it's the matchmaker's fault. I don't know who decided to put that on Showtime, but that was a bad decision because you have a guy in Robert Easter. He's known for giving up his height. He's a 5'11" lightweight. And he always likes to fight on the inside. He likes to throw a lot of punches to come forward. And over the last few fights, it hasn't been working. And so most people have been telling him, hey, you need to use your height. You need to use your jab. You need to be on the back foot. They're trying to turn him into this outboxer. So when he's changing his style, he's changing his mentality. And now he's thinking, okay, I need to use my jab. I need to use my reach. So he's trying to fight like that. But he's going against a Cuban counterpuncher. Mm-hmm. That leaves you a little uncomfortable to throwing the jab, especially when he's a southpaw. So we're looking at a fight where both of their guys are posturing, they're both kind of posturing, trying to find the opening without leaving themselves open themselves for a counter shot, because with the punch output being so low, a couple counters coming from the other opponent can swing around the other person's favor. So they're fighting very tentative. So I think that was the problem with the fight. And if he would have went back to his old style, I think he would have had more success. But I think it was billed to be a boring fight from the get-go.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. That it was going to be. You're right. It could have been a style fight, man. In terms of our ability to get the kind of action we want. But I did feel like even with that style, the way it was going, if Easter would have just done what his father said to do, or what his corner said to do, to just go get it, and if he would have just been more aggressive, he could have, especially in those later rounds, if he gets a couple of those rounds to swing his way, he wins pretty easily. And it wasn't like he needed to have significant. He just need to have some real significant, clear shots in some of those rounds where he was just clearly the aggressor. He would have walked out of there, with the victory. I think on most people's cards, it might have been the prettiest fight, and they would have recognized some of the things you pointed out. But he would have really set him up. I think where he hurt himself, he didn't set him up for any future paydays. Where he had that, if he would have had a really strong comeback, he would have had. He sets himself on paydays. Now you kind of looking at him like now he's got to have another performance before I think he really gets an opportunity to get the kind of payday he's looking for, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it would have looked a lot like in my opinion, it would have looked a lot like the Charlo versus Harrison fight. If he came forward and tried to open up more, he would have been missing a lot, and he would have been looking like it's closer. But I think I'm going to give it to him because he's showing himself that he's trying to push the fight.
Yeah.
But, before we close out, I want to tell you. I know you didn't see the Regis Prograis fight, but I want to tell you, Regis Prograis is a problem. He is a problem. He was showing head movement like one of the old timers. Like he was doing like this kind of like Archie Moore kind of shell thing, and then he was like rolling off shots, being slick, coming back with hard counter shots. He knocked him down in the first round. He scored a knockdown in the first round. He broke the dude's nose, but his nose was busted up. He was throwing with a lot of heat, so he's going to be a problem. And in my opinion, in a couple of fights, I think he's going to be an opponent for Terrence Crawford because Errol Spencer is going to be fighting some of the guys that are on the Showtime PBC side. So with those in-house fights happening, Terrence Crawford is going to have to look for an opponent for himself. So I think we'll be pulling for the winner of the World Boxing Super Series. That could be big. They could do like a Regis, because the semifinals. The finals are probably going to be either Regis Prograis versus Taylor. That's going to be a super big fight, and the winner of that would be sold for not a mega fight, but it's going to be a mega fight amongst hardcore fans. The winner of that versus Terrence Crawford is going to be a big fight. So I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. I thought I'd let you know.
Well, brother, it was a good box moment. We want to thank Teron for being with us. We know got cut off, but we got his prediction on tape. We definitely going to get him back on post-fight and get a lot of that thing cleaned up. Friend of the program. Darnell, I want to thank you again, man, for sitting in that captain's chair, man, and taking us through boxing. Being that professor of the game, taking us deep. You've stretched my game since I've been back in here a little bit. So I'm enjoying it, man. You getting me back into the boxing ball. So all of y'all, make sure y'all go to realsportsguys.com. Check us out. Check out what we're doing. I'm gonna try and get Teron to even put a blog on on Real Sports Guys as he's getting back into writing. Maybe have a piece on here for us. Because we'd love to have him showcase some of his work on our site. So thank you again for being with us. This is a boxing moment with your boy Devon and Darnell, or Darnell and Devon, however you want to do it. We the tandem, the pick and roll. We like Malone and Stockton. We like Isaiah and Joe Dumars. I ain't gonna say Scotty and Mike because I'm not really a Chicago fan like that. Kareem and Magic. All that stuff, we trying to bring it together, or we could be like Lambeer and Mahorn. We give you those love taps when we need to. So thank you for being with us. Until next time.